this is the theory behind traditional screws. Here's the countersunk screw, here's the countersink head, and here's the gauge of the screw, and here's the threaded part of the screw. And the idea is that in the top piece of timber here, you drill a clearance hole. Here, clearance hole, and it's wider, just a little bit wider than the gauge of the screw here, and then that's countersunk, so the screw would just drop into that top piece. And then here you drill a pilot hole a little bit thinner than the diameter of the screw part, so when the screw is driven in, it bites into the edge down here of this hole and forms a nice tight fix into the timber. Now I'm going to put that theory into practice. So I'm going to screw these two pieces of timber together using this traditional slotted countersunk wood screw. You see the top piece is about the same depth as the gauge of the screw, the main thickness of the screw here. So I'm going to use this as a clearance hole. See, it's slightly wider than the gauge. I'm going to use this drill as the pilot hole. You see, that's slightly thinner than the screwy part of the screw. And I'm going to use a countersink for the head. So here we go. Oh, I'll need a little bit of spare timber just to drill onto. I'm going to use this piece here. So into the drill first goes the wider clearance hole drill. So that's the clearance hole, and that will need countersinking. So now the drill should just, and it does look, just drops into there, and it's countersunk in, so it's quite safe at the top, protected. That's well into there. So now I'm going to change this for the thinner drill. Keep setting the drill off in my hand. There's the thinner drill. That's for the pilot hole. So into there goes that. And now we're going to use the screw to screw the two together. So into the pilot hole, and with this ordinary screwdriver, and this is the traditional straight slotted screw, so an ordinary screwdriver with a straight blade, and that's very, although it's deep, it's very easy for me to just drive that home until it sits down nicely, and the two pieces of wood are held together firmly. There we go. That's very strong indeed. That's the traditional method. Depending where you are in the world, there's a huge variety of screws available, and they vary from country to country. This is the traditional straight slot screw, that, like the one we've just seen, with a firm shank here, which is the gauge of the screw, and then a threaded, tapered thread part. Here's one with an X in the top. If it's a straightforward X, it's called a Phillips style screw, Phillips screw, and if it's got little nicks in between to make 8 slots, it's called a posy driv. This one's got a pan head, It's like a round head but slightly flattened off, and it's a self-tapping screw. There's no shank part. The screw goes all the way to the top. Here's one with a shorter shank here and a longer thread. Here's one that the thread comes to the top again. That's a posi-driv. This one is the traditional brass screw used for high quality work. Straight slot, sort of screw that would be used in high quality wood fixings, hinges, that sort of work, and that's made of brass. This one is a black japanned round head. It's got a very rounded head, flat underneath to sit down onto the timber, and a high quality black lacquer to make it weatherproof. A traditional black japanned round head. And although that one looks tiny, there are screws that are 4 times as tiny as that. A whole range of screws are available. For years people have been wondering whether it was possible to invent a wood screw which was shaped so that you didn't have to have a pilot hole, a clearance hole, that you didn't have to countersink for, a screw that would almost act like a nail and it would just drive itself into the timber. And this is it. These are fairly recent, but they are absolutely magical, especially if you've got a lot to do. It's a wood screw with a posi-driv or Phillips style head. It's got a screw all the way up almost into the head, and it's very sharp indeed. And at this end, I hope you can see it, it's got a deep flute that pulls timber out as well as driving the screw in at the same time. These are quite unbelievable. Here we are. Put it into the timber, put your driver onto it. Let's get the driver the right way around. Like this. There it is. It's countersunk itself into the timber. It's extremely firm and it's very quick. That's the turbo screw.